Mambo Team Africa Worldwide. Habari ya Asabui. Habari ya Mchana. Habari ya Jioni. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Well, I am finally following up on my last video in which I entitled Nairobi is Burning Now What? Um, I have been hesitant to post my follow up to that video because I wanted to do research. I wanted to talk to people on the ground since I'm not currently in East Africa, and I wanted to try to understand the situation. But the situation uh, seems to be rather complex. Um, so personally, I have to take into consideration the things that I know. I'm not a legal East African. I am an African American. I do believe that I am spiritually invested in the idea of the East African community. I put a lot of time and effort in visiting and now living. I'm only visiting the United States right now. I spend most of my time in East Africa, um, mostly Dar es Salaam. I go to Goma, Arusha, um, and I go to Nairobi often. I haven't been to Mombasa in a while, but for me, I'm trying to figure out the best place for me and my family to make our forever home. Um, of course, I want there to be stability. I want it to be a place that's safe to live, and I wanted a place that has a certain amount of conveniences. But at the same time, I have political beliefs, just based on ancestry, just based on my people's economic and political stature in the world. And when I say my people, I'm talking about global Africa. Um, it doesn't matter where you're born, you know, as Kwame Nkrumah said many years ago. I'm not an African because I was born in Africa. I'm African because Africa was born in me. No matter if you're in Canada or Mexico or Australia or Japan, um, if you are African, then you should be Afrocentric. I no longer use the term Pan African because there's different factions of Pan African, there's different beliefs and what that means. Um, so a lot of people say you can't be Pan African without being a socialist. I don't agree with that, but um, and at the same time, I was of the perception that all Africans should love one another, and basing my Pan Africanism on that. Now I'd rather say that I'm Afrocentric, meaning that I try to think as an African when I take in any type of information, and I try to think as an African whenever I make any decisions, especially major decisions that may affect my life or the life of my family for years to come. Um, but I've come to find out that, I mean, since beginning of time, um, all Africans haven't been able to get along, and some of us are absolutely brilliant, and some of us are far from brilliant. And so um, I want to globally team up with um, African excellence. So, um, with that being said, I didn't want to take too long to come back with another video, but I did want to give anybody who may have been waiting for the follow up video um, some explanation as to why it's been taking me so long. The prices and the cost of living is going up in Kenya. But that trajectory has always been in place, at least for maybe the past 5 years. Nairobi doesn't even look the same. There's been a lot of building. Um, Nairobi is very modern now in comparison to most places in Africa. And whenever you have this modernity and you have this this modernization, probably a better word, and um, the prices are going to go up. There's going to be a greater demand. If you have better looking housing, then the demand for that housing is going to go up, and of course, the prices are going to go up. Then if you're attracting people who can afford to pay higher housing prices, then um, then it's going to cause other things to go up, like food. The high cost of living uh, didn't come to be in Kenya once Ruto became president. It was always there. So I'm asking myself, um, why, you know, is the opposition party, um, you know, protesting? Now, the protests have been called off by the opposition leader. I think it's been called off for about 3 weeks now. But I mean, this is a dangerous situation. I love Kenya. Is rather stable compared to some African countries, but whenever there is an election, that's when things can get a bit dangerous. I think that one thing that African leaders have to do is they have to put the country and the people first, and not think that it's all about them. You can't be, and I'm not saying that's what this uh, particular politician is doing, but um, we have to keep in mind that personal ambitions have ruined many a nation. Personal ambitions have ruined many a kingdom. Um, and we basically need to be putting nationality to the side and looking at Africa as a country. People always want to correct you when you speak of Africa as being one place or being a country, and they think they're being so intellectual about all the borders that exist in Africa, 50 plus. But most people don't realize that those borders weren't put in place by Africans. Those borders were put in place by Europeans at the Conference of Berlin. So, I mean, legally, we have to deal with passports and visas and residency permits and all of this foolishness. But Africa should be like the United States of America. If I'm in Michigan and I want to go to Ohio, I can just go. If I'm in Ohio and I want to go to California, I can just go. If I want to go to California, if I'm in California, I want to go to Texas, I can just go. What a lot of people don't realize is that we look at the United States of America as just being one place, but the governors of each state has a lot of power. And when you listen to that word state, state is almost synonymous sometimes with the word nation or country. So the United States of America can be kind of looked at as the United Countries of America or the United Nations of America, because each governor in the American states actually has more power over their particular state than the president of the United States has over the nation. And so, you know, we always like to follow after examples um, that have been set by outsiders such as Europeans and Asians. But it seems like we take the bad stuff, such as their religions, but we don't take the good stuff, as far as like their organization. They are very good organizers. So I think we should start doing that. Eat the meat and spit out the bones. The meat being organization, and the bones being European religion and culture and holidays and stuff like that. We need to reclaim what's African in those areas, our names, our language, and things of that type. I am worried that Kenya is starting to speak a little too much English. I mean, it's convenient for me being an English speaker, being that the only language that I speak fluently. But the last couple times I went to Kenya, I heard mostly English being spoken, even by other people. I can understand them not wanting to speak English. I mean, it's Kiswahili to me because my Kiswahili is broken and it's chopped up. So as soon as they hear me struggling through the language, or I don't pronounce the words the same way they pronounce the words, then they'll switch over to English. I can understand that, but among themselves, even I don't hear as much Kiswahili as I used to. Um, so I think that's one of the things that the leadership in Tanzania was worried about, and that's why so many people in Tanzania don't have good English skills. But at the same time, that's kind of hurt the development of Tanzania. There's a lot of information that they can't get because that information hasn't been translated. It's a lot of information in books, and those books haven't been translated. A lot of information in movies that never been translated. And now that we, have the internet and we have social media and all of that, if the people who are speaking in English, like I'm speaking in English right now, majority of the people in Tanzania, um, you know, won't have a full understanding of what I'm talking about in this video. So I see you want to be as well rounded as possible. And but uh so I used to just think, man, we need to just denounce these European languages altogether and these European names. And I still believe that, but I think we need to be strategic about it. It's like a lot of people say, it's chess, not checkers. That's what we want to do. So, like I said, I see the East African community um, more. I think of that more as a nation. I think that once the East African community gets strong, it'll spread, and then eventually we'll have the African community, or the United States of Africa, as Julius Malema calls for. But how long that would take, um, who knows? But I think we should be working towards it every day. And I would like to at least see the East African community become a federation in my lifetime. That would be great to see. Um, where my family would end up, um, I don't know. Um, I'm still weighing my options. Like I say, I love Tanzania, but at the same time, it can be very frustrating sometimes living there because I'm not a rich person, but sometimes I can have actually have the money for something I want to buy, and I have a very hard time finding that item. And it's not like I even shop a lot, just certain things that make life more convenient. You know, um, it's very difficult to find. They have one major mall um, called Emerald City Mall, and it's a decent mall, but it doesn't compare to the malls in Nairobi. Nairobi has Garden City Mall. They have Sarah Mall. They have Two Rivers Mall. They have Westgate Mall. Um, and all of those malls are superior to Emerald City. I mean, they have other malls I haven't been to. They have a lot of malls. I mean, um, Nairobi has more modern malls than a lot of cities in America. If you want something, you can find it easily. Whereas in Dar, you might have to search throughout the city going from shop to shop, which they call dukas, maduka, being plural. You might have to go from shop to shop all throughout the city trying to find what it is that you're looking for, which could be extremely time consuming. Because we all know that just transportation takes much longer. There's a lot of traffic jams throughout the day, and the fastest way, but not the safest way to get around when you want to do something fast is a motorcycle taxi, which they call boda boda, or the motorcycle itself is called picky picky. But you don't want to do that all the time, especially if the driver doesn't have a helmet for you, and then at the same time wearing a helmet that you know 1,000 people have put their heads in isn't the safest thing for your scalp either. I say, I haven't um, bought a car yet because I don't want to buy a car in Tanzania and then end up in Kenya and and then I have to go through a lot of red tape trying to get that car registered in Kenya, and it might be a whole lot of expense. So I want to decide on where I want to be before I buy a car. But I just I just like to give details for anybody who might be inspired uh, by me to repatriate to the motherland. I don't want to bash the country, but at the same time, I don't want you to be taken off guard. Repatriating to the motherland is a labor of love. A lot of people, they try to talk about it like, oh, you moving to Africa and you're just going to be so happy and your life is going to be upgraded and stress free and all of this. And I'm like, that's possible depending on your mentality, but that's not going to be the case for most people. Most people, if you've lived in the global north for all your life and been used to all these different conveniences, adjusting to African life is extremely difficult. Extremely difficult. And then when you live somewhere where the economy is bad, you know, and I'm not making excuses for people, but a lot of times when the economy is bad, you have less morality as far as people trying to get that dollar because everybody got to eat or that pesa, which money is called in East Africa. When people are trying to get that pesa and they got to get it, they got to eat. Everybody got to eat. They have to have a place to live. Everybody has to have somewhere to lay their head. And if the pesa is coming pole pole, means slow, they might cut corners. And so, when I get back home to Dar, I'm gonna try not to be as offended as I used to be concerning, you know, drivers and just different people I do business with, trying to make as much money as possible because I know that they don't look at things by skin color in Africa. They're tribal first, and then they're national second. I don't think that's the way it should be, but that's their way. And I come from a place where we're race first, and I think that's the right way. So we have two different ways of looking at things, and I have to keep that in my mind when I'm dealing with these people. I'm looking at them as a brother, sister, or cousin, and they're not looking at me the same way because I don't speak how they speak, even though you know there's a lot of people who look like me that might be in their own family, but they can tell by my mannerisms. They can tell like just the fact of using my hand right now. People in Tanzania don't do that, so I was taught by a Tanzanian that people can notice across the room in a restaurant when I'm talking to them American because I move my hands when I talk and they don't. I'm a little bit taller than the average Tanzanian. You know, my even though I try to wear, just some modest clothing, they can still tell by, you know, that, I might wear it a little bit differently. So, like I say, moving to Africa is not for the faint of heart. It's a labor of love. You have to have in your mind that you're not running from America or the UK or Europe or Asia or Canada. You're not running from those places because of the problems that may exist in those places, but you're running to Africa because you're being called by the ancestors, and you want to be there in the land of your ancestors, and you want to contribute in the improvement of it. And so a lot of times, a lot of continental Africans who were born and raised on the continent, they feel offended by that. And I guess that's a natural reaction. But they should understand that, we aren't the enemy. I mean, you have a lot of people that have influence on you who aren't African. You have Asians have influence over Africa. Europeans have influence over Africa, and but when we come with our criticisms, you tell us, oh, to keep our Western mindset in the West. Don't bring that over here. You don't tell Mzungu not to bring it over there. In fact, when you see Mzungu, you're showing all your teeth, and you're being extra helpful. Smile at me, help me, because when it's all said and done, those people are teaming up against us. You might not want to believe it, but they've always teamed up against us since the beginning of the time. I talked about the Conference of Berlin earlier. They sat down at a table in Europe and decided which European powers was going to be in charge of which parts of Africa. It wasn't a single African leader at the table. So this is not a conspiracy theory. This is conspiracy fact. Um, so um, don't look at diasporans or returnees as competition. Look at us as family who have come home and who are there to help make a difference. There's a lot of there's a lot of benefits to being in Africa as well. I mean, the weather is great. Even in the cooler areas, the weather is better than in a lot of places outside of Africa. The beauty of nature is great. You know, you got the animals. You got it's great. And then just walking down the city street um, on a Saturday and seeing the majority of melanated people, just chocolate people everywhere, 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 just black people. That is a wonderful feeling. If anybody who's never felt that feeling, you should visit Africa at least one time so you can feel the environment, feel how happy and euphoric it feels to finally be in the majority when you've been in the minority all your life. And it's different. I mean, I'm from Detroit, which is the blackest major city in the United States, and you know, when you're in the city, um, it's majority black. However, it's still a lot of Mzungu in and out of there. Police, teachers. You go downtown now. It's in Midtown. It's practically all white. And if you live, depending on where you live in the city, I live near the edge. You might go to the suburbs a lot, and there's all types of people. And then when you on TV, you see the white president. We only have one black president. Most of the governors are white. Most of the senators are white, and so it's not the same, even if you're from a black city. But when you go to Africa and you look at billboards and they have black families that they're advertising everywhere, like they have a black mother, a black father, and black child in an advertisement for on a big billboard. I mean, it's just beautiful to see. And it gives you just a feeling of joy. So if you, and I know everybody don't want to move back to Africa, but just like Muslims say once in their lifetime they need to go to Mecca for Hajj, I think at least once in every person uh, uh, from global Africa who lives outside of the continent, you should make at least one visit to Africa one pilgrimage, and consider it to be a spiritual thing. And don't look at yourself as an outsider, no matter what any government says, no matter what your passport says. There is no African is foreign in Africa. In my opinion, I know we got to play by these little rules as far as law. Yeah, get your passport, get your visas. Don't go to these places talking crazy, especially to law enforcement officials and government officials. Don't talk greasy. Be polite to people. Be courteous. But at the same time, I'm the type of person, if something is wrong, um, and I don't think I'm gonna put my family in danger, then I'm going to speak on it. If something needs improvement, I'm going to speak on it. And, to those who may not want us there or don't like us for no reason at all, I say, deal with it. You deal with everybody else coming to the continent. You deal with the Indians coming, the Arabs coming, the Chinese coming, the Dutch, the Germans, the British, and but you can't deal with me coming there. No, we gonna come there. No matter who likes it. For those of you who embrace us, hey, much love. But for those who don't, deal with it because the returnees are not gonna stop coming because we're being called. I know some people think that sounds crazy, that we say we're being called by ancestors, but it's true. It's like it's we're being pulled. It's some of us who are being pulled. Um, we feel it. It's just like the ancestors are saying, "Go here." And things are lining up, and so we know this is where we're supposed to be. But our people, we are our ancestors, not ancestors. They never asked to leave Africa. They didn't volunteer to leave Africa. They didn't, they didn't get on an airplane and fly over. They came in the belly of ships. So, we coming back home now. So, um, and that's what it is. So I don't know if I think I'm rambling too long. I don't know if I spoke directly to the subject, which is Nairobi is burning. Now what? But it's a good thing that the protests have been called off for now. And instead of me considering, I'm just gonna start speaking about cities instead of nations. I'm gonna do my best to not even speak on Tanzania and Kenya and different countries. I'm just gonna start speaking on cities, city names, and what my observation is in certain cities because the East Africa uh, Federation will become a reality, and the United States of Africa will become a reality. So, with that being said, I hope you got some benefit out of watching this video. I feel like this one was more therapeutic to myself than it may have been helpful to you. But bear with me, and I'm gonna get back to the Swahili conversations, the Swahili lessons. I do continue to study Kiswahili 2 hours a day, even though I'm still far from fluent. I think I'm moving from functional to conversational, and so I'm trying to get off of the political critiques and conversations and get back to focusing on the Kiswahili. But if I have an opinion on something or I have some information I want to share, then I'll make a video like this. Well, I always forget to say, hit the like button. Please do that. That's important. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. Um, Click the alert bell if you haven't done that. Uh, Asante Sana for watching. Please forgive all the times I said and Kwaheri Kwasasa.